Hi, Yuka. So ahead of the latest round of climate talks at the COP30 in Brazil, the UN says the world isn't going fast enough to cut emissions.
Well, Sharon, a new UN report shows if the latest pledges by governments were to be respected, then global greenhouse gas emissions will fall by 10% over the next decade. But that efforts are not going nearly fast enough to prevent worsening climate change and extreme weather. Meanwhile, a new global survey by Ipsos and the Forest Stewardship Council shows concern for climate change is somewhat taking a back seat for the ordinary public. War and conflict now dominate public worries at 52%, while climate change trails at 31%. Now, some major economies here in Europe have seen sharp declines in public concern over climate change compared to the previous survey back in 2022. In France, the level dropped by 7 points, in Germany by 8 points, and in the UK by as much as 10 points. Now, for more on the findings, let's bring in Subhra Bhattacharjee, Director General of the Forest Stewardship Council. She joins us from Panama City, where the FSC General Assembly is taking place. Thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure's mine.
Now, Subhra, this new survey is concerning. Just today, the UN urged governments to move faster to limit global warming. Why are people less concerned about climate change now then?
It's not as if people are less concerned. Fewer people are ranking climate among their top 3 concerns because they are juggling multiple crises. They are juggling economic concerns and war, terrorism, and health concerns all at the same time. That is where we are seeing climate lower ranked. Yet, at the marketplace, they are rewarding credible, sustainably sourced products, credible, sustainable production. And that shows up in 7 out of 10 French citizens and globally choosing products that do no harm.
Now, people are obviously more and more concerned about war and conflict. I mean, we're obviously seeing images of war and destruction every day. But over the summer, we also saw a lot of extreme weather events like floods, drought and forest fires. Just a stark reminder that these extreme weather events are becoming more severe and more frequent every year. So what does it tell consumers about the state of the world now?
We know that these extreme weather events are linked to climate change. For people, climate as a concept is less relevant than day-to-day matters that affect their real lives, which means that they are concerned about wildfires, they are concerned about flash floods, they are concerned about droughts, water scarcity. Those are things that matter. Economic impacts, those matter. So climate has to be concrete in terms of impact in day-to-day lives. We have to translate it into what it means for day-to-day action.
Well, what else has your survey revealed about the current consumer awareness?
So when we talk about forests, for instance, we at Forest Stewardship Council, forests are at the center of our focus. When we talk about forests, people say that on top of their areas of concern are loss of plants and animals, which is loss of biodiversity, deforestation, and climate change. Their climate change comes up within the top 3 right away, with over 30% of people ranking them in the top 3.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, despite being more concerned about other things, most consumers still care about the environment when they go shopping. What does this tell us then?
It tells us that the conversation might have cooled, but the behavior remains green. And that is very important. People need to find a way in their day-to-day lives to make change. Action and human agency, that matters. And when that is dimmed, the conversation will not make up for that. So while the conversation has cooled, that tells us we need to communicate differently. The action, that tells us there's cause for hope.
And what does this somewhat sort of contradictory findings about the current consumer consciousness and their consumer behavior, what message does that tell governments and policymakers?
It tells us that climate action long-term goals must be connected to near-term benefits, that there needs to be a transparency about the true costs of climate change, what it means for daily lives, the true costs of climate action. And climate action, the transition must be just. The benefits and costs of climate action must be fairly distributed, and they must be connected to people's day-to-day lives, what it means at the marketplace, what it means for their jobs, what it means for their homes. So warmer homes, safer habitats, surer access to food, water, and other clean air. That's what it means.
Your organisation also focuses on the state of forestry around the world. Now, what does the new survey tell us about the effect of climate change in forests around the world, and what can be done by consumers to protect the forests more?
So climate change is having an outsized impact on forests globally. After deforestation having declined for over 2 decades, it is now going up in the last 2 years because of wildfires, primarily driven by climate change. In the face of it, consumers and producers can make a difference by choosing sustainably sourced wood, and when that sustainability claim has been third-party verified. And for us, it matters that forests are responsibly managed. And you would see in countries like Spain, in Portugal, sustainable forest management done responsibly. In other words, responsible forest management is leading to fewer wildfires, is leading to better quality of forests, is leading to better biodiversity. And those choices, both in terms of forest management and in terms of consumption, are important.
Well, Subhra Bhattacharjee, FSC Director General, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it from the Business Desk.
Thanks so much for that, Yuka Royer there with tonight's business news. Well, that is it from us.